All right, today we are digging into the wild story of a man named Neesima Joe. He's famous for founding one of Japan's top universities, Doshiya University. But we're going to focus on something really specific, the single moment that changed everything for him. The moment where just one sentence from a book completely flipped his life upside down. I mean, stop and think about that for a second. Seriously. Not a whole book, not some life-altering event, just one single sentence. How on earth does that even happen? Well, that's the puzzle we're here to solve. And to do that, we first have to understand who this guy was before this all went down. So here's the first big twist in this story. When Neesima started his journey, he was not looking for God, not even close. His goals were all about politics and education. You see, he was on a mission to build a new Japan. Let's just try to picture this. It's 1864. Japan is basically walled off from the rest of the world. If you tried to leave, the punishment was death. But Neesima, born into this high-ranking samurai family, decides at just 21 years old to risk it all. He literally smuggles himself onto a ship, not for some grand adventure, but because he was desperate for knowledge. He believed the only way to save Japan's future was to understand the West. And you can see just how different these two worlds were. I mean, he was leaving a place where your entire life was decided for you the second you were born. A world of rigid rules and hierarchies. And what was he running towards? These completely radical ideas. Freedom, democracy, education for all. This was not a spiritual quest. This was a man on a political mission. And this is so important to get. Religion just wasn't part of the equation for him at all. His mission was practical, it was patriotic, and it had everything to do with this world. And, that's what makes what happens next so absolutely mind-blowing. So, after he manages to escape Japan, Neesima finds himself on a ship, crossing the Pacific Ocean. And it's right here, in the middle of this vast, empty, overwhelming space, that everything starts to change. Can you imagine that? For days, weeks on end, there's nothing but you, the sky, and an ocean that just goes on forever. An experience like that, it kind of strips away all the noise, right? You're face to face with the massive scale of the natural world, and you can't help but feel tiny. Your whole perspective just gets stretched out. So it's in this headspace, feeling small, feeling humbled by the world, that he comes across a book. Someone had given him a Chinese translation of the Bible before he left. He'd never even looked at it. But now, out on the ocean with nothing else to do, he picks it up and opens it to page 1. Okay, this is it. This is the moment we've been building up to. This is where a few words on a page smash right into a powerful, real-life experience. It's the key to this whole thing. This is the line he read. "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Now look, maybe you've heard that a million times, but try to put yourself in his shoes. He is physically standing on a tiny boat in the middle of a massive ocean, literally looking at the heavens and the earth, stretching out as far as he can see. For him, these weren't just words. They were describing exactly what he was seeing, right then and there. And he said it best himself. The gods he knew back home, they lived in specific places, right? In little handmade shrines or on a particular mountain. They were gods inside the world. But this was something else entirely. The God in this book wasn't just in the world. This God was the one who made the whole darn thing to begin with. So, to put it another way, his background was in a world with many different gods, each with their own domain. This sentence introduced a totally different way of thinking. Just one single creator who was responsible for everything. The sky, the sea, him, the boat, everything. The sheer scale of that idea was a complete revelation. And his brain just made this really simple, logical leap. He thought, okay, a desk is made by a carpenter, right? But the carpenter can't create the tree the wood came from. Humans can't just make wood out of nothing. So looking out at the endless ocean, it just clicked. It seemed completely obvious to him that this giant, amazing universe must have a maker too. This wasn't some philosophical debate, it was a truth that hit him right in the heart. So, that brings us back to our big question. How did one sentence change a man's entire life? Well, the answer isn't just in the words themselves. It's about where he was and what he was feeling when he read them. It's all about that link between knowledge and experience. Here's the difference. Knowledge is head stuff, right? It's knowing facts. You can read 100 books about how to swim, and you can understand the science of it perfectly. But experience is that feeling when you finally jump in the pool. It's that, oh, now I get it moment. For Neesima, that sentence was the knowledge. But being on that huge, humbling ocean, that was the experience that let him finally feel what it meant. And really, that's the big lesson from Nijima's story. Words and ideas can just float around in our heads, totally abstract, until some real-life experience happens that makes them click. Experience is what takes something from being just an idea and turns it into a deep conviction. It makes it real. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. Think about the words or ideas that have really, truly stuck with you in your own life. A piece of advice from a grandparent, a line from a song, whatever it is. What was happening in your life that made those words land? What was the experience that took them from your head and planted them firmly in your heart?